Rabbi Lerner, we can't hear you.
But shalom, everyone. So nice to see everyone. We are reading Parashat Mikeitz, which sometimes the second episode in a trilogy doesn't really carry the weight, but this time it does. Parashat Mikeitz is a wonderful parasha. We pick up with Joseph alone, abandoned, forgotten, in jail, and it's like he has no hope. And you feel that he's in this dark, dreary dungeon of a prison. But he's holding on to some deep hope. And Yosef has this spark of light. And we often read this parasha either right after Hanukkah or during Hanukkah. And so it's perfect because Yosef has this spark of light within him, and he's able to bring it into the world, because immediately it's Pharaoh's dream. And I always love to sing it. 7 years of bumper crops are on the way, years of plenty, endless. All right, you know I've done this many times, but I won't subject it to you.
Good song. Good song.
Yeah, it's a good song. I won't subject everyone to it again. Pharaoh has his dream. The butler somehow suddenly remembers there's this Hebrew slave. He's like a young kid, but I think he might be able to help you. And he does, and he interprets the dream. And it's like this crazy minute. In just a few minutes, he's appointed second in command of all of Egypt. And he has Pharaoh's signet ring. And this signet ring gives him all the power. It's a wild story. And then, of course, we know the spotlight turns back to Jacob and his sons back in Canaan. They have no food. They go down. Joseph recognizes them, but they don't recognize him. We have this intense moment as Joseph is sorting out what's he going to do. He has to leave the room, and we see throughout the narrative Joseph leaving the room. He's in tears. He's very emotional. Joseph is a very empathic and kind of an empath, and just filled with emotion at many moments in the narrative as he feels so deeply. And he's just such a kind of intense and caring person. You know how the story turns out. Obviously, he gives food to his brothers, but he demands that they bring back the missing brother because he accuses them of being spies. You know, how he concocts this whole trial. Does he do it on the fly? Is he always planning it from the minute he sees them? Who knows? But he does. And it's quite a narrative. I want to just point out one thing that I realized at the end of the parasha in the Parashat Shavua class. And if you really want to have fun, just jump on Thursdays during your lunch hour if you're working, or if you're not working, then during your lunch hour. From 1 to 2 o'clock, Rabbi Klink Perkins or I, or sometimes a really wonderful guest teacher, lead a Parsha class that is so fun. You will always have a great time and learn something. So you can just eat Torah. And this week we found something incredibly cool at the end. You remember what happens at the end. Benjamin is brought down to prove to Joseph that there is this other missing son. And you can see how Joseph is so excited to see that missing younger brother of his. But he puts one more test. Remember, he plants the goblet in Benjamin's sack to see how his brothers will react to that. And they do react. And they are devastated. No longer is this brother from another mother, to use a line from Hamilton, or from another places. This brother is not a different brother. This is a brother that's part of their family, and they're devastated. And what do when they find the goblet in Benjamin's sack? You might have forgotten. Does anyone remember what happens? They immediately do a Jewish ritual. They perform. I can't see you all, so I don't know if anyone's got the answer. I only see 5 people. Maybe I should switch to gallery view. They perform Kriya. Yeah, thank you, Louise. They perform Kriya. They tear their clothes, which is a little bit of foreshadowing for what is going to happen next week with Judah's incredible soliloquy, which is the longest soliloquy in the Torah, which is the opening speech of next week's Parashat. And of course, the rabbis cut it off at this amazing cliffhanger of a moment of what is going to happen. But they perform Kriya. They all perform Kriya because now they're like, oh my God, Benjamin could be killed. And you can see their pain. You perform Kriya when you lose someone because you're in pain. Don't forget, in the ancient civilizations, you used to gash yourself as a sign of mourning. And the Torah comes to tell us, no, you can't gash yourself. You can't gash yourself when you lose someone. Your body's sacred. You can't do anything to harm your body. But the Torah says that's why you can tear your clothing. And they all tear their clothing. And it's an incredibly powerful moment in the parasha.